There was a lot that happened that was quite dramatic that I didn't actually share with you in the last video, including getting stuck up a 15% incline and both of our vans just basically cutting out. It was quite scary. This is going to be a debrief, all the little lessons from my first trip away. So throughout the whole of the build, I've had a friend that's been incredibly supportive and also slightly jealous of what I'm doing. Well, maybe 2 months ago, I just got a text saying, Beck, I found a van and I've bought one. Because we were both quite scared about going out the first time, we decided to do it together. So that's what that trip was. So we kind of came together in the days, hung out a bit, and then spent our nights separately because we're trying to get used to the van, which was absolutely perfect. Couldn't have asked for a better first trip out, considering it's winter and everything. It was absolutely wonderful. We had a great time, but that doesn't mean it wasn't without its challenges. Even just the travel there, I decided cleverly to drive down through Sheffield, past the Sheffield Wednesday football ground, just as a match was starting. So I got caught up in the Sheffield traffic to start with. When I arrived, there was one van parked up. He parked up next to me, all was fine. And then we went for that lovely walk down all the waterfalls and it was wonderful, absolutely lovely. When we got back, we tried to both get in one van and sort of hang out for a bit. My mate's van has got even a smaller seating area than mine, and his van is a little lower, so my head actually touches the ceiling in his van. So we tried his and then got in mine, and I was like, we just can't relax, and it's not comfortable with two of us in the van. Anybody that lives two in a van, hats off to you big time. So we just was like, we tried it for maybe 10 minutes and then we're like, I'm uncomfortable, are you? And he was like, yeah. So we just went in our own vans, had our evening to ourselves. I was honestly just so nervous. I didn't want to eat at all. It was like the hours kept ticking by and I was like, it's 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock, I've still not eaten. And at that point I was like, right, you're obviously just too nervous to eat, just to go to bed and open some Christmas chocolate instead, which is what I did. And it was fine. But I'm not going to beat around the bush. I was really scared. I was really, really scared the first night. I couldn't settle at all. I kept texting my mate and I was like, I'm petrified. Like, genuinely, I'm so scared. It was windy, so the van was like, moving. It was movements that I wasn't used to, noises that I wasn't used to. Being parked in a car park, even though I should have felt safe because by the end of the night, there were 4 vans there and a horse box, converted horse box. So there was a lot of us and I should have felt safe in numbers, but I didn't like it. I was parked in between 2 vans, so there was a bit of a wind tunnel. So every time the van rocked, I was a bit like, is that wind or is that someone rocking the van? My senses were so heightened and I just felt really uncomfortable, really out of place, just couldn't relax. My mate texted me and he was like, get in bed, honestly, it's cozy, put something on your laptop, you'll be fine. So I got into bed and I did feel better in bed, but just the whole night, I made the mistake of leaving the heating on. I put it down to like 14 degrees. So every time that kicked in, it's right underneath my bed and it does this click and then... So it was like noises like that I wasn't used to, that sort of kept me awake a bit through the night. But I honestly, I didn't sleep a wink. I was just too nervous. I was convinced somebody was going to break in and murder me in my sleep, which is ridiculous. And I know that. But this happens. I moved like 5 times, I think, when I had my tumour when I was ill. And every time I moved into a new house, it would always take me about a week. And I was just convinced somebody was going to break in. My really logical brain was working. And I just tried to rationalise that I felt this way in every new house that I was in. And it'll take me about a week to get used to it. And I was right, because by the second night, I slept like a baby. But I think that was due to something else, which we'll come on to. So, yeah, first night, even though it was a success, I woke up, nobody broke in. I was fine. And everything was fine and I was warm and it was, everything worked. Nothing blew up. We were all good. It was still quite a challenging first night and I was knackered the next day. So we had a very lazy morning. I cooked breakfast. I had a bit of a walk around outside, had a look. That's what I really, really enjoyed about being in the van, that you step out that door and straight away you're outside. And I must have been out, 7 times maybe each day for those 2 days. And I came back to the house for Christmas Day and Boxing Day before I went off again. And I immediately hated being in the house. So I know that I'm going to love this, and I do love it already. It's the cat that's going to be a problem. And I think me not sleeping as well had something to do with not having Savannah with me. Me and her, she's really just my sidekick. She follows me around the house constantly. If I'm in a room, she has to be in the same room. She sleeps on me the whole night. Like, I move, she's there. I turn over, she's there. She's just always with me. And I think that was another reason why I didn't sleep. I'd not been away from her for a night for well over a year. And yeah, that was just a bit odd as well. So didn't have my little comfort animal. Okay, so the second day, this is where the drama really starts. So I wake up, I check the weather. There's the weather warning for wind, the yellow warning for wind. We'd already planned sort of the second night stay. The reason why we chose that location near Sheffield was because there were 6 park-ups within a 20-minute drive of each other. So if one was full or wasn't right, we had 5 other options of ones to choose from. And the first one I thought was perfect. And to be honest, I didn't really want to move the second day. I just wanted to stay because it felt more comfortable. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Going from a house to a van, it's not easy. I've never done this before. It's weird. It's really weird. I'm really out of my comfort zone and things are probably going to be uncomfortable for a while, but you don't grow in your comfort zone. So I knew it was going to be hard. It's fine. But what I didn't anticipate about moving, and I'm very, very, very glad I had my friend with me because he literally was like, no, come on, we've got to move. So reluctantly got the vans ready to go. And I said, I'll follow you. Let's go. So we drove off and the first road, you pull out of the car park, there are like 2 main roads like this and then a road in between joining them, and the car park is in the road in between these 2 main roads. And it's in a bit of a dip. So we're in the dip, we turn right, we've come in from the left, but we're turning right to go to our next location. The road is like this, and the road we're coming up, we're talking like this. So our vans are already like that and we've got to go up the road and turn right. Well, we'll spin like crazy at the top of that. I see him and he turns right, and so that's fine. So I'm behind, and then, like I said, wheel spin, but I get off and I'm thinking, oh, flipping heck. I'm a bit nervous. I'm a bit on edge. Don't really know where we are. All a bit new and a bit weird. And the wind is winding at this point. The wind is strong. It's raining. It's that really like fine drizzle rain, but all the roads are just covered in a few mil of water. It's just like a light stream everywhere. So trundle along for 10-15 minutes on this straight road before we have to turn left. Now, what I hadn't realised when looking on a map is to pay attention to the gradient lines. Are you going up a steep hill or not? Well, this left turning, which just looked like a left on the map, wasn't a left. We've got the main road. It was a left. It was a 15%, and I swear it was more than that. Honestly, I swear it was more than that. It felt more like 25 than 15%. But apparently this 15% incline hill. So I watched my mate, turns up it, and in the back, I'm literally going, shit, there's no way. I was like, don't turn up there. Don't turn up there, mate. We're not going up there. We're not going to get up there, because you could just see it. It was just going up and up and up and up. And it's windy and it's raining, and the road also does hairpins, and there's a big drop because of the steep. Oh my God. So I'm behind panicking before we've even turned. Anyway, I've got to do it. He's there. He's gone. I'm going. We're following. Part of the adventure, right? So I went, followed him, and there were maybe 3 or 4 really sharp bends, and the bends are going up 15% inclines. So you've got to floor the van and then swing it round to the right when you can't really see where the road is going. It was quite terrifying. So anyway, he does the first one, but I can see his van slowing down tremendously. So I really back off, because I'm like, the last thing we want to do is stop the vans on a 15% incline. If our vans stop on this hill, I was like, that's it. We're not going to get them started again. We're not going to have enough power to get going from 0 on a 15% incline. So I back off and give a bit of extra space for my mate. He bombs it round the first one with this stream just running down the road as well. I could see him slowing down, so I pulled back. I went round the first one and I was like, honestly, screaming in the van as I was doing it. I was like, oh my God! And then the second one was a hairpin. And we were on the left-hand side of the road, and on the left-hand side of us, there was the biggest drop. And my mate went round it, and then just as he'd got past it, halfway up before the next turn, his van stopped, and his van actually stalled on him. And I'm sitting in mine, having to stop as well because I've seen he's stopped. So I've stopped, but I'm not on the really steep bit at this point. It sort of leveled out a bit. Then anyway, he had to have it just restart his engine, go into first and get going. And he went. So then I started moving. But as I was moving round this hairpin bend, a car came. And I understand why car owners don't stop and don't give extra space or extra time and stuff because they've never driven a van. They don't know. I didn't know before I was in a van. But flipping heck, give us space. Like when you're on a country road and I'm as far left as possible and a car comes to you and it's got 1.5 feet of space to the left and you're just there going, my wing mirror is going to smash you, my wing mirror is going to smash you. It's just terrifying. So please, I wasn't aware of this when I was driving a car, but move left if you see a van. Give it as much space as possible. And when you see one trying to go around a hairpin corner, up a steep hill on a windy, rainy day, and there's a big drop and there's a big heavy van trying to get up, just stop. Just let the van go round. Don't try go around the hairpin corner at the same time. Anyway, I'm halfway around the corner. My wheels don't even feel like they're on the road on the left-hand side. I'm like, I'm just going to end up down this hill. This car just spooks past and I was like, oh my God. So I kind of like slammed on the brakes a bit because I was like, I can't move. If I move, I'm going to hit you. So I let the car go. Then I'm almost starting from scratch and first gear it, absolutely floor it. The engine's like screaming at me. And then I go into second and we're at the really steep bit at this point before the next turn. I go into second gear and I start like going backwards and I'm like, oh, balls. First it is, get back into first, floor it. Thankfully she moves very slowly, engine screaming. I'm going up the hill, I'm screaming, round the next corner. My mate's gone up at this point. I can still see him, but he's far away. Anyway, round another corner, literally like, oh my God, can't believe I made it, can't believe I made it, can't believe I made it. And then get to the top and then it's another right turn and we're off back onto a normal road. But holy moly, if I was on my own, I'd have stopped and I'd have turned around. I wouldn't have carried on. So I'm really grateful that my mate was there because he made me carry on. And I was almost crying at this point. Honestly, I was so stressed out. I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but I was so stressed out. I thought I was about to lose like all the hard work that I'd done over the last year with the van. And anyway, we get to this other place. And after this road, we get onto a flatter road, but it doesn't get easier. They then get narrower roads. And we're basically going down a dead end to get to this second car park near the reservoir. And it's a single track road again. And I'm like, if we meet another car, there's no passing places. And the tarmac is one of those where it's like it drops at the bottom. So you're going off the verge. So you can't even like go onto the grass. But the whole time I was thinking, what are we doing? This is a mistake. Shouldn't have done this. Shouldn't have come here. Should we just go home? It's too stressful. I don't want to deal with it. That's where my head was at. I was full on ready to just give up and quit, call it a day and come home. This isn't for me. Can't handle it. I was just too uncomfortable. But alas, we carried on and we got there. And just as I thought we were about to reach, the road was about to run out and we were just about to reach the end, he indicates right and turns into this car park that I couldn't even see. That's how well camouflaged it was. I could barely even see it. And we pull in. And as soon as we pull in, I burst out laughing. And I think, really? This is where we are? There was, like you saw, there was no other people around. We were the only people in that car park. It was flat. It was overlooking the reservoir and we were in the middle of a woods, which is my ideal, like, calmest place to be. So after we pulled up the vans, well, we didn't even park. We both just pulled up, got out and burst out laughing, gave each other a hug and were like, can't believe that. And then just sort of like had a bit of a chit chat about the big hill that we managed to go up. So then we got parked, we got the chocks on as you saw in the video, and then we went for the walk up that big windy hill. And once we'd done that, I realised that it was worth that trip in the end. And it couldn't have been better for me because if I'd have been on my own, like I said, I'd have probably turned around and gone home. And that would have been evidence to my brain that I couldn't do it or it was too hard. So the fact that we persevered and pushed through really scary circumstances to get to a second place, and I didn't even want to leave the first place because I got a bit comfortable with it. thinking, oh, there's nowhere going to be better than this. Well, then we got to the second place, and the fact that it was better by a country mile, it blew the last place out the water. It then gave evidence to me that no, sometimes you've got to go through the crappy journeys and the difficult journeys and think you're not going to get there, but then you do, and it's actually better. So that was really good evidence for me to push through and do it. So when I'm out on my own now, I know that I'm going to pull on that experience. If I'm ever in that situation again and I'm on my own and I don't have somebody else to sort of like keep me going, I will be able to remember this and say, no, keep going, because what's on the other side is probably going to be better than what you thought. So in a really way, I'm very grateful it happened that way. But oh my God, at the time, I was close to crying. It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So the next place you saw, we were in the wind, gale force winds up that big hill. But what was actually very, very lucky is that hill was, I don't know, maybe 200 metres, 300 metres we walked to get to the top of that. The car park we were in was actually in a bowl. So that was how windy it was up there. We got back in the vans. The vans weren't even moving anywhere near as much as the previous night. So we were in a really sheltered area, which was absolutely perfect. So even though that wind was crazy, the second night was much calmer than the first night to sleep. Madness. But one of the things I did say when we pulled up, is this a wise idea to park next to trees? And they were pine trees. And as I understand it, pine trees are the easiest ones to blow over. And I said, is this really a sensible thing to do, us parking here in the middle of a storm? But then we walked up the hill. And then when we came back down, we realised how much of a sheltered bowl we were in. So we're like, okay, we're fine. But that did cross my mind as well, that thought that we could potentially have a tree fall on us, but we were good. Yeah, the second place was wonderful. We went for a little walk around the reservoir, went for a little explore up the hill. We parked our vans next to each other, and then at this side of both the vans was very, very, very sheltered indeed. So we actually got table and chairs out, and we sat outside for maybe an hour and just enjoyed being in nature, really. And then met up later on, and we made pizza and chips, and we cooked those and had those for tea. And then went back in the van, and I had a cheese board and settled down for the night. And like I said, the second night I slept so much better, like absolutely conked out actually. I think I fell asleep quite early. Yeah, and had a much better sleep. But I turned the heating off completely, so there was no heating, so it was cooler in the van. I think the first night I was too warm, so the heating wasn't on for the noise. It was cooler, which made me sleep better. And weirdly, even though I know this is backwards logic for a lot of people, I felt safer in the woods completely alone than I did in that car park with 5 other vans around. Explain that one for me. I don't know. I think the park ups that I'm going to like best are going to be the ones where it's really quiet and there aren't many people around. I think that's where I feel most comfortable. Huge learning curve, really, is what I found. Huge learning curve. I've taken it as a positive. Things can only get better from here. I can only get more comfortable and more used to it as we go. That is the little tale of my first trip. And finally, I realised that there was a lot that I need to add into this build that I have not done. Things that I need that I haven't built. For example, a shelf next to the bed so I can put my drink and my lip balms and things that I need at night time on there. I think I'm going to build a little shelf, like fold down shelf from the back of the shower, so I've got somewhere that I can put my laptop on. There needs to be a divider in between the kitchen and the bedroom. I also made the decision to add a curtain across the back doors. Even though the insulation in this van is amazing and it is always about 15 degrees warmer than what it is outside, laying in bed, it was very obvious that the gap down the middle of the doors was letting cold air in. So I've painted the back doors now, but what Mum has also done fantastically is she went back to the fabric shop for me, got more of the fabric from my headboard to match my headboard, and she has made blackout insulated curtains, one long curtain to go across the back doors. So that would just hide the back doors, give a bit of privacy, and it will just help with the heat as well. So that's made. We've had to make little extra pieces of wood that go on the side to attach that in. So it's not actually in yet, but Mum has made that. I also needed to add a grate to the sink to stop food going down. I need to add in cutlery dividers because they just cling around and make a load of noise every time I open the drawer. The table needs to have just a smidgen of it cut off so I can manoeuvre it properly without it getting stuck. And it also needs the corners rounding off because I have put a couple of holes in the ply already on the bulkhead because the corners of that table are far too sharp, so they need to be rounded off. I needed to silicone the shower, so I kept the shower skylight open all night, and it rained and loads of water came in, and there was a bit of a gap between the two areas of the shower skylight, so I just need to silicone around that edge to stop any moisture and any water getting in those gaps. I also realised that I needed to do the same and seal around the windows. I hadn't sealed around the windows, and obviously the condensation in the night trickles down, and I saw potentially could go underneath the ply, so had to seal around there, and we've done that now as well. I need to create a cover for the inverter and the shoe cupboard because Savannah can actually get in there and then climb into the electrics. So she did that when I took her out, so I need to get their cover for that. So still quite a few bits to sort out and do, but nothing major, nothing really important. So I'm going to go away and enjoy a seaside trip now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next update. Peace out.